Welcome back, everyone. In today's video lesson, I'm going to cover staying organized in your Mastercam workflow. As parts get more complicated and you're doing more complex work, it's going to be really important for you as a programmer to maintain some order to the chaos of what's going on in your workflow. So we're going to take a look at three main things today. We're going to take a look at view sheets, we're going to take a look at planes here, and we're going to take a look at levels. So let's go ahead and start with the levels manager, which is going to be down here. And as you can see here, I've got a number of levels that I've created. So why would I do this? So the main reason is that I like to have a clean graphics window. So if I just go ahead and turn every single level on, you can start to see it's getting a little bit busy and crazy on screen. For example, these solids that you see here interacting with each other, causing that weird discoloration. A lot of containment geometry that I've used to drive some toolpaths later on, and just a lot of extra geometry that we really don't need to be looking at. So turn those off, and the way these tie into view sheets is I can keep certain levels activated in a certain view sheet. So if we look down below here, these are my view sheets that I have set up. So if you don't see the view sheets kind of tab down here, the way to get that is to go to your view tab, and you can toggle on and off your view sheets right here. It's really simple to create a new view sheet. You just click this plus button and you can title it. If for any reason you want to change the title of that view sheet, right click over it and you can rename it and call that example 1. Now within this view sheet, I can turn on whatever geometry I want there to be visible. So for example, if I only want to see the wireframe and the surfaces, I can do that here. And now when I go back to my model view, you can see now I'm only looking at the model view. All of those other levels, I don't have to worry about those. So it pays in dividends to set up your view sheets and your levels manager before you even start programming toolpaths. And the main reason that I like to do this, for one, is to stay organized and kind of know what geometry is used for what. And it also saves time because now I'm not having to, let's say, oh, I want to see the model with fillets and go and, switch back off the original model and turn on the model with fillets. I don't have to sit there and click those buttons. I can simply go to model with fillets view sheet and you'll see the model with fillets. So I'll go back to my original view here. The other reason you want to set up levels too is just, again, to keep that organization going. So in there's going to be a toolpath later on here where I'm using surfaces as avoidance regions. So if I turn on my surface, and actually I'll just go to the surfaces view sheet here. So we'll look at this view sheet and we can see some extra surface geometry that really only needs to be used on a single toolpath. And so I really don't want to be looking at that. And especially too, if I need to be kind of chaining some geometry, within these pockets here, it's really hard to obviously see the geometry within there. So I really want to keep that on its own level so that I don't have to be kind of looking at that all the time. So setting up your view sheets before you even start programming is going to be really important. And let's go to fixture setup here so we can take a look at a little bit about how this is going to be sort of held up in my machine. So one of the first steps I do when I'm programming a complicated part such as this is I like to bring in a fixture, whichever fixture I'm going to be using, whether that's a standard 6-inch vise, some custom fixture design that I've got, In this case, we're using a Raptor work holding dovetail vise and a custom riser plate here. So I just like to bring that in on its own separate level, 80 here, which I've called Fixture, and the only two entities on there are the Fixture and the riser plate. And the main reason I want to do that, especially with this 5-axis part, is when my part is tilted sideways, I'm going to be coming in and actually roughing behind the part, and I'm going to select my fixture as my avoidance geometry. It's also really helpful from a programmer's perspective to be able to see what you're going to get, kind of at the machine when you're running this part, so how high, how tall is the part. One thing I like to do as well is I've got my stock here, and I'll turn the stock display on, and we can see now that the fixture is actually lined up pretty perfectly with our stock. So we have this set up properly. So that's kind of going to help visualizing what you're going to get when you actually go to the machine. And another thing to quickly touch on is if I go to this dovetail cutting view sheet, you'll notice all I've got here is a bunch of wireframe that represents the stock and the dovetail cut that I want to leave on the stock. Now if we go to the Toolpaths manager here, and I click on my toolpaths and turn those guys on, and I'll just backplot through, and we can kind of see what we have going on here. And it's just a preparatory step 0, let's say, in the stock preparation. So really, when I set this up in my toolpath manager, I'm really just getting this dovetail cut, and then I'm forgetting about this whole operation altogether. You can see it's even in its own separate machine group here. So dovetail, you can see the machine is a Herco 3-axis mill. My main operations down here, this is 5-axis operation and on a totally different machine here. So we can see how just setting that one view sheet up and kind of forgetting about it as we continue through the programming is going to be really helpful. Let's go ahead and dive into the planes manager really quick. So as I mentioned before and kind of showed you with the fixture here, and one thing you'll note about view sheets is that they retain any sort of data you're giving it. So I mentioned this with the view sheets with the level manager. So whatever level is on for that view sheet is independent of any other view sheet. Same thing with this stock view. So in the fixture setup view sheet, currently as it is, I have this stock display on. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off, but it's useful to see, what kind of data is contained within each view sheet. And that goes back to our planes manager as well. So even before I've started toolpathing, what I'm going to want to do is set up some planes, because I know that this is a 3+2 and a 5-axis part. So I don't want to get to toolpath 37 and realize, oh no, I need to create a new view sheet and create a new plane for this roughing operation or what have you. So it's really useful to go ahead and just start when you open your part to get these planes kind of set up. It's the programmer's job really to ensure what type of process is going to be used, how that process is going to unfold throughout the machining process. You really need to be thinking about these things right when you open whatever part you're going to be running. You need to think about how many setups am I going to need? What is my work holding going to look like? How long do my tools need to be? Because if I measure and I analyze this distance, I can see that some of these pockets are super deep. They're 3 inches and 3/16, and that's going to need a long tool. And I know that these are going to be 1/2-inch radii, or 1/4-inch radii. So I need to use a 1/2-inch diameter tool to get down there. So I'm going to need a pretty specific tool to actually execute the machining on this. With that being said, because I have these side holes here, for example, I know that I'm going to need to create another plane here, and I've created this plane, and it's called side holes plane. So if I actually go to vertical side holes view sheet now, let's take a look at that. And I can see now that I've got the wrong plane actually selected. So this is a plane for a totally different roughing operation up here. I'm looking at the holes down here. So I want to flip this around and change the side rough plane construction and tool plane and set that to the side holes plane. So let's go back to our model only view. And again, the planes are associative with your view sheet. So when I go back to vertical side holes, I can see now I have my top plane contained down here in the work coordinate system, and the side holes plane up here, keeping the top plane with my work coordinate system and my construction and tool plane with the side holes plane. When I go to post this to code, that's going to tell Mastercam and tell the code to move the machine in a rotary move that's going to achieve this position that you see right here. So again, it's really helpful to see what you're going to be doing with each separate toolpath that you create, and containing, kind of within these view sheets, I've got some vectors here that might be used later on to drive some 5-axis motion. I'd like to, keep that separate. So again, just really quick overview of the view sheets and how planes and levels are both associative to those view sheets. So let's jump into our Toolpaths manager really quick, and I'll show you some tips and tricks about staying organized. So if we look here, you can see I've got a number of toolpaths created here for my initial roughing. So again, I'll collapse my dovetail operation. I don't need to see that. And I've got my 5-axis Herco mill. So if we take a look, just looking at all these toolpaths, you can see they're all grouped up. I've got a bunch of different groups, and the real reason that I'm doing that is I want to kind of break these things up so that I don't just have a wall of toolpaths. And even though these toolpaths do have comments, for example, finish the bearing pocket, it can still get a little confusing when you've got 65 toolpaths all in the same toolpath group. Sometimes that's unavoidable, but I like to kind of minimize that. The great thing about these groups is that you can do subgroups, and you can kind of have a bunch of different, groups within groups if you like. So if I'm in my machine group here, and if I right click while I'm selected on the machine group, and I go to groups, and I want a new toolpath group, and it's telling me what I want to name it, so we'll say example 1. That's going to insert a new toolpath group down here, and you can see that this toolpath group that we just inserted is separate from all other toolpath groups. So it's not a subgroup of a toolpath group, it is just a simple subgroup of a machine operation group here. So I can then hover on this example here and right click and create another toolpath group. And I'll say tool 10 maybe. Oops, I've already got that. So let's say tool 9. Tool 9, and then maybe within that toolpath group there, I'm going to have another tool, and we'll say tool 20. And so maybe even within tool 20, we're going to have another subgroup, because tool 20 is my spot drill. So maybe I'm going to be spot drilling on the side holes. So side holes, spot, and that still uses tool 20, but now I can, even within that, make a sub operation. And maybe I come in here and spot drill these holes on the side as well as these holes here. So it's a good way to kind of keep organized. In my case here, it's really basic. I've just got, pretty obvious different kind of operations here. So, pocket pre-drilling. So I'm pre-drilling holes for these pockets. Then pocket roughing here. Then I'm doing profile roughing and side plane opti roughing and profile finishing and etc. etc. So down below we can see even more. So toolpath groups that don't even have any toolpaths yet because I haven't quite gotten that far. So when I initially set this up, I went ahead and created, 5 or 6 toolpath groups that I knew were kind of the big ones. So roughing and finishing and drilling, all that stuff. And of course I can continue adding as I see fit. Maybe I'll add one for, deburring on some of these fillets here, but maybe also a chamfering one because we've got a couple of chamfers. So there's a number of different ways. The great thing about Mastercam is that none of this is set in stone, and I don't have to just, if I don't like the way that this programming is going, I can always, reorganize things. Maybe I want to move profile finishing after bore finishing. So if I click on the group here, you can see all the toolpaths are selected, and I right click and hold, drag this, say I want to go after this group, click, let go of the right click, and move after. Now you can see that moves my group, and again, I can do that with any toolpath. So maybe this toolpath is actually supposed to be in another group. I can right click, hold. Let's say I want it right after this 3D high-speed toolpath, and I will move it after that. So now you have moved that right there. So again, the great thing about Mastercam is that nothing's really set in stone. You can always make changes, and it's really convenient to do so. So with all that being said, again, there's a lot more detail that we can sort of dive into, but I hope that gives you a clear overview of some of the tools that are available for workflow management, keeping track of what you're doing, and keeping a nice organized workflow. See you next time.